Hello, this is Mr. Schnella again from Yulee Middle School. We are still working in e-learning week 1 spiral review. So reviewing those multi-step equations with variables on both sides. For this video, I'm only going to review question 2. So question 2 here, we have 2x minus 5x plus 12 equals 1/3 times 27x plus 18. So the very first thing I'm going to do with this equation before I distribute on the right side is I actually need to combine like terms on the left side of the equation right here with my 2x minus 5x. So I'm going to have negative 3x plus 12 equals, and now I can distribute on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to take 1/3, I'm going to multiply 1/3 times 27x, so I'm left with 9x, and I'm going to take 1/3 times 18, and that's going to produce a positive 6. So my new equation now is negative 3x plus 12 equals 9x plus 6. So now I'm going to move the smaller variable term to the other side of the equation using inverse operations. So I have negative 3x here, so I can add 3x to the left side, and because I'm adding 3x to the left side, I also need to add 3x to the right side. So I now have 12 equals 12x plus 6. Right, so 12 equals 12x plus 6. The next step I'm going to do here is I'm going to subtract my constant term, or that positive 6 from both sides. I'm going to subtract 6, and I have 6 equals 12x. I'm now left with a one-step equation, and all I have to do here is divide both sides by 12 to isolate my variable. All right, so that I have 1x equals 6 over 12, which is going to simplify down to 1/2. So x equals 1/2. Hello again, this is Mr. Schnella from Yulee Middle School. Still working in e-learning week 1. This is our second video covering multiplying and factoring. So we are working on multiplying a monomial by a polynomial and then being able to factor a monomial from a polynomial. Just a reminder that this document is available in your specific teacher's Google Classroom for you to access and print. If you do not have access to a printer, please get something to write with and on so you may follow along with the video. Again, for videos 2 and 3, we encourage you to pause the video and try to work out the problems ahead of time, so that way you are able to check your work with the video. So our first 2 examples here, our instructions are simplify each product. So I have 3m squared times m plus 10. So I need to use the distributive property. So I'm going to take 3m squared and multiply it to the single variable m, and then 3m squared times positive 10. So I have 3m squared times m, so I'm just going to be, the product is going to be 3, and then remember m squared times m to the invisible power of 1 is m cubed plus 30m squared. Our next example, I have negative w squared times w minus 15. So negative w squared times w raised to the invisible power of 1 is going to be negative w cubed, and then negative w squared times negative 15. So negative times negative is going to be positive 15w squared. And our next 2 examples for today, we have factor out the GCF. So I have 4x cubed plus 12x squared minus 28x. Right. Well, if I just look at my coefficients, 4, 12, and 28, the greatest common factor between my coefficients is going to be positive 4. Now remember, the GCF can also include a variable. So I have x cubed, x squared, and just x raised to that invisible power of 1. So I have one x in common between all three of those terms. So the greatest common factor is going to be 4x. Now I need to divide all three terms by 4x. So 4x cubed divided by 4x is x squared. 12x squared divided by 4x is going to be plus positive 3x. And then 28x, or excuse me, negative 28x divided by 4x is just going to be minus 7. So I'm left with 4x times x squared plus 3x minus 7. In our last example for today, we have a cubed plus 6a squared minus 11a. Well, a cubed has an invisible coefficient of 1. So with my coefficients, I have 1, 6, and negative 11. So the GCF between those three coefficients is just going to be the positive 1. And then I'm left with, I have a cubed, a squared, and then just a by itself. So the GCF between all of those is just going to be a single a. So I put single a outside a set of parentheses, and now I need to divide all three terms by the greatest common factor. So a cubed divided by a is going to be a squared. 6a squared divided by a is going to be plus 6a. And then negative 11a divided by a is going to be minus 11. So our solution is a times a squared plus 6a minus 11.